Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everyone, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I am your host for the next hour. We've also got Corey in the studio.
Hello.
And Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. So we welcome your calls. We welcome you to phone in and join in the topic of the day, which today is the top 10 benefits of knowing your past lives. The top 10 benefits of knowing your past lives. And after we've covered the topic of the day, of course, we open the phone lines for your questions. So you're welcome to phone in and ask a question for which you are seeking an intuitive response.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to read out the number now, which is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And we also have an email address, which is info@drlesleyphillips.com. So if 1 week you can't make it to listen live, you can email your question and listen to the podcast later. So let's get on with it. Let's get on with the show and talk about the top benefits of knowing your past lives. So listeners, who were you before you were you?
Nobody. I was always me.
And why might you want to know another personality that you were? So whether you've received past life regression, had a past life reading, or started to recall your incarnations, it can be very empowering and healing to learn about your past lives. Although there are some pitfalls, because if you find out you were somebody famous or somebody infamous, then the ego can grab a hold of that and either use it for self-glorification, I was the Queen of Sheba, or denigration, I was Genghis Khan. But if you appreciate that you're not that personality now, past life information can help you because it can widen your perspective in many ways. So here's my top 10 ways in which knowing your past lives can help you. Number 1, and they're not in any order of priority, by the way, but number 1 on my list is clearing stuck beliefs. A past life reading can help you shift stuck beliefs and stuck concepts that you are holding on to in your current life that are barriers to you creating the life that you want now. So let's give you an example. You might believe being in a male body is better than being in a female body. Then the next time you create a female body, you might create a dominating father or a dominating husband to help you transcend that limiting belief. So past lives can really help you gain a wider perspective on the different experiences that you're going through and help you transcend them. Here we go now. Number 2, heal unresolved emotions. So unresolved emotional issues can also stop you creating the life that you want. And a past life reading can help you transform those difficulties because, again, it can help you understand from a broader perspective. So you might learn how to accept yourself and others by experiencing being an abuser in one life and a victim in the next. Or you may learn over several lives to balance giving and receiving by being a physician and a patient in another. So I hope you start to get the picture that the soul creates not just through one personality, but through many personalities, and the sum of information and experience of all those personalities helps you expand your consciousness. All right, so number 3, to access abilities that you developed in the past. And this is a really, really cool one, because knowing about your past lives can help you draw on your spiritual legacy. So you could have developed strong capabilities in a particular area in your past lives, but you maybe so far in this life you've been doing something different. And so knowing about a past life where you were really great at that can really encourage you to pursue your affinity for that new thing. So let's think of an example. Maybe you were a dressmaker for Queen Elizabeth I in a past life, and nowadays you are a seamstress and you get a contract to create period costumes in a movie set for Tudor times. And you kind of know exactly what to do. Or you're an engineer with a passion for herbs and you discover you were an Amazonian shaman who used herbs in healings. The possibilities are endless, and this knowledge can be just what you need to encourage you to take the leap to go in a new direction. And number 4, kind of said this a couple of times already, but to help see your life from a new perspective. Because you can spend many lifetimes focused on a specific area of expansion. And each life scenario may help you look at the same issue from a different angle. So let's make up another example. You might learn how to accept yourself and other people through that scenario that we said before about being an abuser in one life and a victim in the other. So we kind of already gave that example. All right, number 5, better understand difficult relationships. So maybe you've got someone in your family that you have a really difficult relationship with. Maybe it can be explained by delving into your past lives. So perhaps someone who's your child this life was a spouse who abandoned you in a past life. And this explains why you limit their independence in the current life. Or maybe you don't trust your boss and find out he used to be a slave trader who sold you into slavery. You know what? And again, the possibilities are endless, but knowing that there's a past life explanation for what's going on now can really help you put things in context. Number 6, recognizing your soulmates and your soul group. So we tend to incarnate in groups.
I think that's the interesting one.
Yeah. And pretty much anyone who appears in your life today is someone that you most like, and plays a significant role, is likely someone that you've known in past lives, although the relationships shift and change. So your husband today could have been your grandmother in another life. Your boss could have been your parent. Your child could have been your boss. And while the relationships change, the goal remains the same, to help each other grow and expand through the relationship dances that we do together. And number 7, know your soul's purpose for the current lifetime. And this is a big question on people's minds. Why am I here? So you can delve into your past lives and delve in at a soul level for why this particular incarnation and why the other ones that you get to know about. And being able to put your life in the context of the big picture can be really helpful, because it can take the pressure off you when you realize that you have an eternity to play with. You never stop. You never get it all done. You just keep creating. You, that spark of divine consciousness that is the core of who you are, is eternal. You get to play different games in different realities and different bodies, but you're eternal. But each incarnation you have, there's a reason. And so you can explore that. Number 8, release old patterns and adjust your energy. So you might, let's say you had a pattern of giving away your power or not taking responsibility for your actions, and that's limited you over many lives. The current life could be the culmination of that growth cycle where you transcend those limits, where you release old patterns and learn to use your energy in a new way. You might take back your power. You might realize taking responsibility for your creations is a great step towards creating a more empowered and less victim-filled life. So again, the possibilities are endless. Number 9, knowing about your past lives can help you validate that you are an eternal spirit. It opens your consciousness. So if you thought you were your body, becoming aware that you've lived before and hearing about past lives that resonate with you, then that will start you off on a whole journey of asking questions and understanding yourself more deeply. And if you believe in the past lives, then you will say, it can't be true that I'm just my body. So then who am I? And look at the constant part of you that creates all these different bodies and find your true divine eternal nature. And finally, number 10, discover why you're attracted to certain places on the planet or certain historical times. Because, you might have had some strange curiosities that didn't make sense to you. Maybe you always wanted to visit Rome or Florence or Athens or Paris, or you're really attracted to Africa, or you're fascinated by the Mayans or the ancient Egyptians. And or maybe you have an unwavering belief in Lemuria and Atlantis, despite, people ridiculing you because of it. And it can all be because these strange fascinations can be explained by having a past life reading. So now most people don't remember their past lives, and actually it wouldn't make sense for you to recall everything about your lives while living this one. Because just think how confusing it would be. Most information from your other lives isn't relevant to this one, but some of it is. So there are pockets or vignettes of past life knowledge that can enhance your experience of the current life. So any point in the current life, whatever you're going through, we can find vignettes of past life experience that can really help explain what you're going through and help you see it from a broader spiritual perspective. So, you got anything to add to that, Corey? Any other benefits that you can think of for knowing your past lives?
They're fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. It can be fun. It
actually is, yeah.
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. And actually, and the word fun's important because it is good not to take it too seriously.
The other thing is also it's a release. It can be a relief or a release of anxieties and tension that you have, knowing that, and I don't like to use the word fault, but knowing that what you're going through, there's a reason for what you're going through at this point in time. It's not just something that's just thrown against the wall and see what's happening. You can be cleaning up or affecting a different looking at a different area of or perspective on something. It's just like it's just like going to different movies all the time and taking all that information and being able to use that information to, like I like looking at DIY movies, do-it-yourself movies on YouTube videos. You see all these videos, and then sooner or later you get to use them, and not necessarily remembering the video that you saw, but remembering the gist of what you saw.
Yeah, I like the point that you make about the release as well. And here's another sort of example: is sometimes people have irrational fears, and let's make one up: a fear of heights, or a fear of being buried alive. And maybe it doesn't make complete sense based on the current life experiences. But if you then find out, well, in my past incarnation, I was buried alive, or I was thrown off the top of a cliff, then you can go, oh, okay, now I know why I feel that way, but I'm safe. This is a different lifetime. I don't need to feel that way anymore.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I know, you touched a little bit on it, but one of the things that I know a lot of people would be interested in is how would they be able to recognize some sort of effect a past life has had on them, or whether they're living a specific reoccurrence or fix to a different past life, or they're being affected in some way. I wonder how people can, is there a way that they can recognize it?
Well, that's a really good question. And of course,
that's all. This is a type I, that's the only type I ask.
Yeah. So of course, you can, like I said at the beginning, have a past life regression. You can have a past life reading, or if you wanted to set about being able to consciously recognize past lives yourself without having a mentor or somebody assist you with it, then let me think about that. How could you recognize it? Without any so the question is, without any training, without learning how to do it, how just be able to know, oh, that's a past life.
Oh, that feels like a past life. Or that feels like something from a past life, or a blah, 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 It's difficult for me to answer that question because it kind of involves a little bit of discernment in terms of, consciously reading energy. But maybe I can answer it by giving a kind of a story from my own life before I knew how to do past life readings. Tell us a story, Dr. Lesley. Tell us a story.
I've got a couple of them, and actually, if I think of the couple of them, one of the things they both have in common is like highly emotionally charged situations where the emotional charge seemed perhaps more than it should be. So I had a female friend when I was at university. We shared an apartment, and we moved into a house with a third person who was a male. And so this woman was my best friend, and it was perfectly platonic. Kind of best friends where you tell each other everything. And I became very suspicious that she was having an affair with this other chap in the house. And it made no sense because she was my best friend and surely she would tell me about it. But I became so paranoid about it that I stayed awake one night, and sure enough, I heard tiptoe steps going from one bedroom, to the other, and I found out that it was true. And it was really odd. Why wouldn't she tell me? And then I think that night I had a dream, and in the dream, the three of us were in the dream, but it was a completely different lifetime in the Middle Ages in England, where I was in a male body, she was still in a female body, and we were married, and she had an affair with somebody. And so that's one example. And so, I would just say, if it's something where it's very emotionally charged and it doesn't completely make sense to you, and there can be other explanations for that, and maybe there's some other anecdotal evidence, like you have a dream about it, and it gives you a bit more information.
Well, when you think about it, it could be either way. Either something's very common to you, and you go, "Oh, that's very common," but a little bit different than your practical, or something so far absurd that you go, "Whoa, is that me?" It'd be nice if you could sort of sit there and okay, I want to meditate and ask yourself the question now: who is this who is this emotion or feeling or statement or activity about? Is it me? Am I sort of looking into a past life mirror? Is this me or is this someone else? And be able to pinpoint it,
And you certainly can learn to do that and be trained to do that. We actually, I'm going to go to a break in a minute, but we store our past life information in part of our energy field, and sometimes some of it leaks through into the current life energy field. And so to somebody who's meditating, who is able to tap into their intuition, they can definitely read the difference between the past life information and the present life information.
And just remember that just because I was thinking about a couple of regressions I've done, just because you go in and see or come across maybe a reason or what you would call a reason that you're doing something now, it's really not an excuse for that behavior, emotion, exercise, whatever. It's not really an excuse. It's just, hey, maybe there's a reason for it. And it's all meant to learn. It's all meant to play, right? You know what I mean? Like it's okay. So I threw something against the wall. Wow, that was a rage of anger. And then you go, oh, that was because in the past life,
it's still happening in the present life. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, and it is.
Oh no, that's not exactly what I mean. Like, this happened in my past life, or I was too calm in a past life. I have to learn how to, release my emotions. But that doesn't excuse the behavior itself. Or abuse is a good one. I mean, say if you were abused in a past life to come back and be the abuser, it's a reason, but not an excuse in the sense, oh, I did it in my past life, it's okay to do it now. No, I was abused in my past life, so it's okay for me to do it to someone else because I'm learning that way. It's not that. It's just that there's the learning, and I won't say karma because I don't like saying karma, but it's just learning. Past lives are fun though. I enjoyed my time and learning about my past lives.
I'm going to go to a break because it is time for a break, but we'll be back in a flash. And listeners, the phone number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. I'll read it again on the other side. Welcome back, listeners, to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. We have been talking about past lives and the top 10 benefits of knowing your past lives. And yes, I'm sorry I cut you off there at the end, Corey. Was there something else that you
I've
wanted
lost the
to
impact.
say? Sorry. All right. So it's that time in the show, listeners. You can call 604-504-7441, extension 4142, if you'd like to ask a question live on air. Once again, it's 604-504-7441, extension 4142.
And to all our listeners that might be in different time zones, we're in the Pacific time zone, and we are on air every Tuesday at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So you can call in even if you're not in the area. And I got a question here from Nessie. And Nessie would like to know, hi, Dr. Lesley. I listen to your radio station on... Oh, you got a radio station now. I listen to your radio station on podcast. I wanted to ask you a question. This year feels like a year of beginnings and endings for me. My relationship is near its end, and I'm growing in spirituality, so I'm positive that it's for the best. I recently was told that I may have clairaudience, and after doing some research, I think it is possible. When I first met my partner, I heard a clear male voice in my right ear telling me, he will be an important part of your life. Later on, that same voice told me eternally, tell him. When I was hesitating, admitting a financial mistake I had made to him. I hear random song lyrics playing in my head from time to time that feel like messages relating to things going on at that time. Do you see me being able to develop this ability any further? Is it even real? Will it get stronger, or is this the extent of it for me? Also, are you able to email me if my question is answered on the air so I don't miss it? XXX.
All right, great, thank you. Yeah, so we won't email your answer, but you can listen to... I've told her actually by email that she can listen to the podcast.
That was her question. Can you let her know when it will be aired on podcast so she can pick it up?
Yeah. So the CIVL is immediately, and then we've got a little bit of lag before it comes onto my website.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look and maybe give some general comments about clairaudience as well. So for those of you listeners who don't know what clairaudience is, that's a French word. It just means clear hearing. It's the ability to hear as spirit. And so she gave a really great example of it, that she was going about her life and she hears a voice, and it's a voice that isn't a physical voice. It's not a voice that's coming from a person, but nevertheless it's a voice that she hears that gives her some guidance. That's clairaudience. And it sounds like this voice has been giving us some fairly good information. It's quite common as well for people to hear music with their clairaudience. That experience where you have a song playing in your head and then you turn the radio on and lo and behold, it's the same song that you were thinking in your head. Oftentimes creative people, that's one way that they're receiving their inspiration, is that they're actually sort of doing a spiritual download of the music. And you can also, with your clairaudience, tune into the angelic spheres, the sort of vibrational realm of the angelic realm, and listen to the beautiful angelic choirs. So her question was, is it real? Can she develop it further? And do I see it getting stronger? So I'm going to take a look. I'm just tuning into her energy, just to take a look at this. And actually, before I give specific information, can it be developed further? Yes, absolutely. Any spiritual ability can be developed further. And with anything, you just need to intend that you will do it, and that and focus some attention on it. So, would it get stronger without your attention, without your conscious attention? Possibly, but it definitely would if you paid conscious attention to it. And is it real? Yes, it is real. But now let's take a specific look at your clairaudience, because I'm actually seeing that for you, it is a definite intuitive ability. And even though you're having experiences of it, I'm actually seeing that there is a kind of a block which is dialing it down. And it almost feels like, and I don't know why I'm saying this, because in a way I might not suggest you do this, but it almost feels like, like being able to rip a Band-Aid off. It's like there's something covering up the full potential, and it doesn't look like it would be too difficult to clear that block off. So I'll take a look at what that is, and it's a really common thing, not just in clairaudience, but other spiritual abilities as well, which says, what if I hear something that I don't want to hear? What if I hear something bad about somebody? Yeah, and also just like a little bit of fear about being able to control it just causes you to not always be open to it. And of course, that's where having some training can really help you, because you can learn, like a radio dial, you can learn to dial your clairaudience to specific channels that you wish to listen to, or you don't have to listen to anything that you don't want to listen to, and you can turn it on and off at will as well, so you can focus on listening or not listening. And so I'm seeing, with a little bit of refinement and discernment, that this definitely is something that you could develop. I feel like there's some more for me to talk about here, so it's just going to take me a little moment to take a look at that, because I'm looking this particular ability is channeled through an energy center in the throat called the Fifth Chakra. And I just wanting to take a look at your Fifth Chakra, because I'm seeing that energy that's blocking it a little bit is it's there. So give me a moment. I'm seeing that the reason that you wrote this question is because you're really wanting to clear it, actually. And it feels like it's really ripe. It's really ripe to be cleared. It's almost like there's a cork that you're ready to pop out of there and unleash more of this. And it just looks like a fear of being different, fear of being judged, fear of being called crazy, fear of not fitting in, all those kinds of fears that you can imagine if you're somebody who can hear voices that aren't there. And it looks like that it comes from being little, and where not everyone around you was having these kinds of experiences. And also it looks like having some experiences when you were really little of a range of different voices, some of which were benevolent and friendly and some of which weren't. Hence this idea of learning to control it and decide who you listen to and who you don't. Let's see if there's anything else that we can say about this gift for you. So I'm seeing it's something that you have used in past lives, and I'm also seeing that you have a guide, a helper being that is working with you on really focusing and clearing this. And I'm seeing that there's a broader perspective to this gift, which is in the realm of what we might call sound healing, using vibrations as a form of healing and attunement. And I'm seeing that there's information that this guide has that perhaps relates to past lives, of an ability to make sound frequencies using your own throat and voice, your own physical apparatus, in combination with it just looks like we'd call it sound healing. Just like people deliver healing when they're doing Reiki, for example, and the energy's flowing from the hands, it feels like a form of healing, which is vibrational healing, which is sending out a particular vibrational frequencies and inviting that which you're focusing on and intending to be healed to entrain with that vibrational frequency and be uplifted by it. And so I'm seeing that there's a lot more than you have even been aware of that is under the surface of that. So I hope that has helped you with your question and understanding about that. Do you have anything to add that you picked up on?
Actually, I have a question that I'd like you to cover on that a lot of listeners might have. I know that in your excuse me, that in your blueprint, your intuition blueprint, you go over, what is it, 20 different?
Yes.
You grade out 20 different intuitive abilities that people have at birth, that they're born with, and that they lose, and some get stronger. Excuse me for a sec. My throat's a little dry. Here's a question I think some people might. Now, in this case, this lady had a touch of clairaudience that she wanted to expand upon. Can you learn how to do something that you have a zero ability at the present time? For instance, sort of like, men staring at goats. Like if I wanted to learn or be able to use clairaudience, can I, even though I don't notice any of that ability at this point in time, can I learn to acquire or expand on that? Because I think what you attest to is that we all have a certain amount of it when we're born, right?
Yeah. I would say in this case, if it's relevant to your growth this lifetime, yes. There are some intuitive abilities where I feel really confident in saying, yes, absolutely, anyone and everyone can do this. And like clairsentience, the emotional one, or clairvoyance, the seeing one, or claircognizance, the knowing one. What I find that there's probably about 20 to 25% of people who really have an aptitude and a focus on clairaudience. I believe that it's possible for anyone and everyone to learn how to do it. But what I find actually with a lot of people, because the fifth chakra is really, there's a lot of different intuitive abilities being channeled through that energy center. Telepathy, broad and narrow band telepathy, pragmatic or practical intuition, clairaudience, and your inner voice. And depending on a person's purpose this lifetime, I quite often meet people where they're really right now focusing on their own inner voice, because they've had so many other voices that have interfered with them knowing their own mind. They just want to listen to their own voice. So I would say that if it is relevant for you this lifetime to learn it, then yes, if it makes sense for you to do it. And thank you for bringing up the intuition blueprint as well, Corey, because that is a great way for people to learn about themselves and learn about their own unique profile of intuitive abilities and how it relates to their life purpose. Because everyone's different, everyone's unique, everyone's here for their own reason, and everyone has their own combination of intuitive abilities that really will support them in that. So if you go to drlesleyphillips.com and you look under sessions and the different types of readings, you'll see this one called Intuition Blueprint, and it's really focused on your specific intuitive abilities and how they support you in your life purpose. If you've blocked any of it, and why did you block it, and helping you clear, learn what you need to do to clear those blocks. And the other thing that you've reminded me of is, of course, how do you go about learning to develop and open your abilities? And you can find a mentor, somebody like me who already knows how to do it and knows how to teach you how to do it. And I'll just mention as well, for people who are interested in this, there is another section on drlesleyphillips.com called Courses, where there are lots of intuition development courses and meditation courses. And there is a course on clairaudience. There is a course that will teach you how to open and activate your ability to hear as spirit. There's another one on being able to see, clairvoyance, another one on feeling, clairsentience, and another one on knowing, claircognizance. And as a prerequisite to those slightly more advanced courses, there is a course called Unlock Your Intuition, which really focuses on unblocking what gets in your way of any intuitive ability. And that is a fantastic, life-changing course. And I'm actually looking for my next batch of students for that. So anyone who's listening in, who's really keen on wanting to tune into their intuition, wanting to find out about their intuitive abilities, then I recommend those two things, the Intuition Blueprint and the Unlock Your Intuition course, which involves live tuition from me. So it's not just we do it on Zoom. So we have an interactive classroom, even though you're sitting at home on your computer. And the first group of students that went through that this year had unbelievable shifts in their consciousness and in their lives. So check that out, folks, on drlesleyphillips.com. I must go to a break and we will be back shortly. Hi everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corey. We are at the time in the show where we take your calls, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And in the absence of a call, do we have another question?
Yeah, I've got some questions from your coffee, tea, and intuition.
Great. And
these that are kind of general, and they are also anonymous. And here's one that's kind of interesting. Do curses exist? And if so, how do you know if you have one?
Great question.
I think it's a phenomenal question.
So, my answer to that is yes. And if you believe in curses and you believe you've been cursed, then it exists for you. Or if you believe you can curse people and you do it, then it exists for you. So I would say yes. And I've encountered this more frequently than anything else is when I've had people come to me who are from, especially some of the African cultures or the Caribbean cultures, or South Pacific. Yeah, that those cultures have a really strong anchoring of that belief system in some cases, and so, but really what it is it's we live in a world of energy and vibration. So is it possible for you to throw energy at another person in a maleficent kind of a way? Yeah, it is. And whether that energy that you might want to use the word curse to describe, whether it sticks in that other person's space depends on what they believe about themselves and what they believe about energy. So somebody who believes that they're in control of their lives and they create their own reality and they can set their own vibration and, then that kind of energy more likely will just go through them like light goes through a pane of glass. It doesn't need to stick. But if it's somebody whose energetic field is quite dense, with pain, a lack of belief in themselves, low self-worth, and they believe in curses, then that curse energy that's been sent their way is more likely to stick because there's a magnetic match between what's being sent their way. They're more likely to receive it and take it in. So that's the short answer and the long answer.
Oh, it's both? Oh.
Yeah.
How can you have a short answer and a long answer at the same time?
Well, the short answer was yes, and the long answer was the rest of it. But it was a good question.
So here's a question that has to do with our past life work that we were just talking about. And it says, how can you recognize the difference between a bond and an attachment from a past life?
Okay, well, I'm not too sure I understand what they are meaning by bond and attachment, so let me just give me a moment.
Well, what I'm gathering from it is like a bond that you have with somebody here, like you and I have a bond of friendship, right?
Mm.
As opposed to an attachment from a past life where you've...
Okay, so the bond isn't coming from the past life, is the way that you're interpreting it. Oh, okay.
That's what I see it as. Yeah.
Okay. So how can you tell whether it's...
How can you tell the difference between two? Something that's maybe current in you as opposed to coming from your past life.
Well, that's a good question. Let me just give me a moment. Maybe I'll answer it this way. So there are different types of attractions, and there could be a positive attraction where you are vibrating at a similar frequency to someone, and in many ways. So you're joyfully expressing who you are, and you have certain resonances with certain passions and things. And then you meet someone else who's a vibrational match for that energy that you're giving out, and you sense a kinship and a strong affinity for that person. That bond can be based purely on present time vibrational fields. Now, let's make up another example where you feel compelled to another relationship through either an unhealthy attachment or I'm going to use the word karma, I guess, through cause and effect, that because you've had interactions in a past life that you've tied each other up in an energy that's a bit like getting on the same train, going in the same direction, because you've not completed that cycle of learning together. And so that might feel like an interaction that is more fraught with learning experiences and learning opportunities, and might feel more entangled. So I guess I've given you two different scenarios, and this isn't a black and white. And so, if we had more time to discuss this, there might be more to say. But that would be a sort of a general guideline between different types of attractions that could be based purely on energy right here, right now, versus being pulled back together because of past life interactions.
Yeah, I agree. The other way you could look at it as well is, what's the difference?
Well, exactly, and that's
So what if whether it's a past life or attachment or a bond, we have things we need to look at, and the best thing to do is just stay in the present and accept it for what it is. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a past life or not, or it doesn't matter whether it's just in this life, a bond that you've created in this life. It really doesn't matter. It is what it is, and it is when it is, and you are the culmination of everything within your own personal reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, I wouldn't have necessarily used either of those words. I would have just used one word to describe different types of events, which is affinity, which is that magnetic force that draws you to people who are a vibrational match, and there's different ways in which you can be a vibrational match.
Sure.
And we'll go back to what we said at the beginning as well, in that, what? Most people that you know and develop a relationship with, most of them are people that you've known in a past life. No. Most of them.
Well, I can understand the question is like, well, I have a really, 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 really close friend now. She's my best friend, right? BFF. And is that something new, or is that come from the past life? Regardless of which it is, right? Enjoy the friendship.
Right.
Enjoy. I don't I can understand wanting to know how something has come about, especially like you were talking about fears and phobias. That might be interesting, or if you have specific pains. But if you have something positive, just let it go. Let it go.
I mean, I can sort of expanding on that a little bit. I mean, we've all had those times where we've met somebody that's new to this life, and you go, I feel like I've known you my whole life. You know, I feel like we go back a long, 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 long way. And it doesn't make sense, because it's like, well, I've just met you. How can that make sense? And the reason it makes sense is because you have known them for a long time, and you have known them in past lives, and they're someone who's important to you.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.